So we're talking about the Loomis method, okay? Stan starts everything out. Most artists will start everything out drawing the exterior and then working their way in. I'm a fan of working from the inside out, but in the end, you're the artist. You get to decide how you want to work, okay? We're using charcoal. It's a really hard charcoal, 2H charcoal. You want to use graphite, use graphite. If you want to use the sketchbook app, use the sketchbook app. It doesn't matter, okay? It's all going to be relative, right? We need to start off with our third. So in the video and in the explanation, Andrew Loomis says that everyone's face is basically broken down into equal thirds and fifths. Let's start with the thirds. That's going up, vertical. We've got equal lines, equal distance from the bottom of the chin, bottom of the nose, to the brow, to the hairline. For the most part, all of us sit into this breakdown, equal thirds. So on our papers, don't draw too small. We're going to draw 4 lines. 1, pick a spot. 2, don't go too small. And then once I have those 2, I'm going to line up that sliver of paper that I gave you. Three and 4. So equal distance, more or less, between each one of these rows. 1, 2, 3. When we talk about fifths, we talk about the width of the eye, or the width of the nose, from the edge of your nostril to the edge of your nostril, or from tear duct to tear duct. Okay, we have 5 eyes that go across our face. We got 3 right in the middle, and from the edge of my eye to the edge of my ear. For the most part, we're all in that same boat. Okay, how do we get those fifths? How do we get those fifths to block this stuff in? We bisect one of our thirds. Okay, so on her face, the easiest way to do that is I'll block in the bottom of my bottom lip, and that distance from bottom of the nose to the bottom lip is one of our fifths. Or you can just say, you know what? I've already got this sliver blocked in. Half the distance from here to here is, again, ballpark here. So now I can just pick a spot. It doesn't have to be right in the middle. The more in the middle, the better. I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal columns going across the face. If those lines went straight down, straight down, straight down, straight down, that gives us our columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Could you show us how to do those columns again?
Okay. So you got your thirds. Bisect one of them, preferably the bottom one, because we're going to need that bottom line. Okay. This distance, from the top of my sliver to here, that's going to be one of my fifths, one of my vertical fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you start in the middle, you're going to have 2 on either side. Make sure that you only have 5 columns. Ryan, did you get a mask? They're up here. If you guys need a mask from the weather, feel free to grab one. All right. So my nose is going to fit inside of this middle column. My eyes are going to fit inside of here. The edge of my head, my ears are going to fit over here. Okay. If you want to draw in the middle column first, that's fine. Be light-handed. Even though this is a really great charcoal, you still always want to be light-handed. Okay. You need to have 6 dots, yeah. 6 dots for 5 columns. In this middle column from the top of my brow line here to the bottom of my nose, that's what we're going to start with. All right. Questions on blocking it in? Once you have this, everything kind of just falls into place. You have to fill your columns, though. Okay, that's the biggest thing outside of blocking this in. You have to fill in these columns. You can't have your nose just sitting tiny inside of here. From the edge of your nostril on the left side here to the edge of your nostril on the right side here, it has to connect, or just go outside of it a little bit. Okay, otherwise they start to look snakely. They start to look a little bit more Byzantine thin. Focus on filling these boxes. All right, the noses are really the most difficult thing to draw. In my opinion, my humble opinion, with the way you guys have learned to draw, the most difficult thing, okay? We're gonna block it into 3 different planes in 2 different shapes. We're gonna have a trapezoid up top for our brow, for our bridge. We're gonna have a bigger trapezoid below for the bigger part of our nose. And then 3 planes, going up, going across, and going down. All right, easiest way to do this, looking at her, I'm gonna create this trapezoid here. And I've got a trapezoid from here, 1, 1, and 2. So if I can get that blocked in, and again, we're just eyeballing it ballpark. It's not super thin here. I know that I've got a little bit of an angle here, a little bit wider, and somewhere around here. Okay. If you want to trisect this, you can. If you're worried about how to do that, it's just 3 equal spots. And then where I have this here, and then I have this there, this is going to create the basics of my nose, my 3 planes going up, over, and down. We talk about as this like a weird hourglass or a dress. It's 2 trapezoids on top of each other. And now we can focus on these thirds here. We've got 2 wedges on either side. Those are going to be our nostrils. Right in the middle, we've got the bulb of the nose. Her nose is pointing down. It's not pointing up, so we don't need to worry about the skin underneath the nostrils. Whoever you end up drawing for your own drawings, you got to pay attention to the nose. Okay, and I will work you guys on an individual basis, but we are focusing on her. With her nose, we can break it down into nostrils, bulb of the nose. We need to figure out where the top of this bulb is. You can look at her, you can train your eye to see these shades. It's about 1/3 of your nose. So from bottom to top, if I third that, it's about 1/3. So if I'm thinking about how big I drew, 1/3 of that is somewhere around here. It's all relative to however big you drew. If you drew tiny, it's a smaller nose. You drew large, it's a bigger nose, but it's all relative to this 1/5. I've got the bulb of my nose fitting mostly inside of this center column of my 1/3 of my nose. And I know this is really left-brained jargon talking. You can do all this just by spatial recognition, the way we did our still lives, or you can go a little bit more mathematical and break these things down into fifths and thirds and more fifths, and it doesn't matter. All right. Then looking at her, the shape of her nostrils are really wide C's. Okay, and it has to connect with the edge of your column. So if I have a wide C here, mirrored shape on this side has to connect with that line. If you don't, her nose looks really, really pinched and poorly plastic surgery. Let's fill up these columns. Now her nostrils, you can just work as little ovals right now. That's going to start on this wedge. It's like putting an oval into the wedge. And make sure that you have a little bit of skin showing between the nostrils. So sideways oval, connect your dot, and that becomes the bottom of her nose. A little bit stylized, that's fine. Any questions on that so far? Like I was saying with your with noses that are upturned, her nose is not, you would have the bulb of the nose and you'd see a little bit of a wedge here, and then you'd have your nostrils come off there. You see a little bit of the bottom of the nose. When I was learning this kind of illustration, they said draw fallopian tubes. If you can do that, great. If not, just do the three bulbs for your nostrils, and you have a little bit more, and this would become the bottom of my nose on that the Loomis. Okay, 3 columns. So it depends on who you end up drawing. We talk about doing drawing a mushroom for the top of the nose, for the top of the bulb of the nose, the bottom. These are other things that you can think about when you're drawing, just to make it look symmetrical, so you don't have this edge and then this one's all the way down here and it looks kind of wonky. You want this mushroom to be symmetrical on both sides. Okay. All right. Her nose is pointing down, so we don't need to worry about that. Now we need to worry about the lineage inside of the nose. When we're little kid artists, we tend to either draw this line and this line, or this line and this line. My suggestion is to only draw the shadow side. Only draw the shadow side. So looking at her nose, the shadow side of her nose in here on this middle column looks almost like a peanut. So really narrow peanut. This is going to dictate where we change our angles from bottom left to top right, the x-axis, top left to bottom right on the other side when we start adding our value. Right now we're just working on our contours. Yep. Say that again. Just focus on this line right here. Okay, it's kind of like a half of a peanut. Don't worry about the shadows right now. And on our trapezoids, we have these angles. And I'm fine with that. And that's going to end up dictating where our eyebrows are, or where they sit. All right, when we draw our eyes are going to fit just like our nose from this spot to this spot, this column. If you want to draw the column, go for it. At the very least, get yourself your bullet points. Where it comes to the placement of the eyes, I've got my horizon line here, my line there. wherever I put that, that's going to basically bisect my eyes from the top and the bottom of my eyeballs. Okay, so if I go back to my drawing now, and I have this here, if I go straight across, that's going to be half of my eye. Okay, when you look at your eyes, think of them as planar. So if I have 3 planes here, 1, 2, 3, I can do the same thing pretty easily on both sides. 1, 2, 3, making sure that the corner of my eyes are lining up there, starting here, lining up there, ending there. Underneath, I got 1 for my tear duct, 2 lines for my tear duct, levels out, and I have similar eyes on both sides. If you wanted to do the tracing paper method, you could do so. For right now, for just blocking this and learning the Loomis method, get in the ballpark. And you see that we do a lot of thirds, same thing in the eye. With the white of your eye, in your irises, we learned this in passing while we drew our eyes earlier this semester. From here to here, if I trisect that into 3 equal columns, your iris is a third of your eye. So 1, 2. That way we don't have super small irises. Right now I'm just going to lightly add some value to it. If you're drawing small, by now you're starting to see that this charcoal is really, really soft. Even though it's one of the grayer, harder charcoals, it's going to blend out a lot easier for us. But it also really contaminates a lot of your drawing if you drew small. All right. Let's finish up the eyes. The top of the eyes are done. Right here, we'll have another eyelid, and then our eyebrows. When you guys start measuring in your eyebrows, the distance from this line to the bottom of your eyebrows, if this person is relaxed, I'm going to use this here to here as my distance. 1. So I basically have another eye, another length of the eye, top to bottom, above there, at least before I get to my my eyebrow. So this distance here, the top of my eye to here, equal distance. Bottom of my eyebrow. Eyebrow's a little thinner than the eye. Look at the angle of your eyebrow. A little top left to bottom right on this left side, opposite on the other side. And again, think of it as planar. You can do 2 planes where you have going up and then down, up and then down. Some of them have a 3rd plane. As far as where her eyebrow starts, I'm just going to y-axis it up from here. And it's a little bit in. Y-axis up from here, again, a little bit in. So that's the start of my brow. Start of my brow. And I'm just going to fill in a little bit. I know that it's not super bushy eyebrows. They are a little bit thinner than the width of my eye. And then when it comes to where do these things end, I will end it on my brow line. So my brow line is here, one of my thirds. And then I will go, just a trick that I learned from this right eye on our right side, if we pretend the edge of our eye right here is the center of a clock, we go to 2 o'clock. And then on the opposite eye, go to 10 o'clock. Get those angles in. And we're in a decent ballpark for the eyes. A little bit big on this side. Ten and 2. Go ahead, add your eyelid, mirror your top line of your eyeball if it needs to be. And you can be a little bit more meticulous. This line is a little bit lower. It's a little bit thicker. A little bit thicker here. Good. It's at this point, a lot of the guys in last class starting to look like a guy, Mr. Ball. Yeah, it's not done. Okay. There's feminine features that we can add. If you have a ton of lines, especially a ton of really heavy dark lines, and you see a lot of these angles that we're doing, the more lines you have, the more masculine something looks, the older they look as well. I'm going to start eliminating some of these lines if it's starting to bother me. So if you're saying, you know, she looks way too manly or old, subtract some lines.
What are you using to erase? Like, I'm trying. Yeah, I can't erase. I erase.
Because you're not pressing, or you're pressing down too hard. Okay. If you're pressing down really hard, just like with graphite, the harder you press down, pressure sensitivity with any material is very important. If you're pressing down super hard, difficult to erase. Use your Factus eraser, your white one. You can use your tough stick, dig out a little bit. If you see a lot of the artist's hand in the artwork, that's not a bad thing either. Okay, just understand that a lot of, like, where I pressed down a little bit harder, I had a lot more layers there. It's going to be tougher to erase. Doesn't matter. We're going to treat the entire sheet of paper anyway. These lines are going to go away once we start adding the value. Let's focus on the contour.
The charcoal is not erased. Mine's not erased. Yeah.
We just went through that.
Yeah, but like I'm doing the pressure sensitivity thing. It's not going away. Like I'm
Don't press down.
I'm going super light.
Go a lot lighter. A lot lighter. Yeah, it's. All right. Underneath the nose, we have our first third. This is where a lot of information is in this half of that third. Okay. I'll say this a few times. I will scream at you if you do this with your original drawings, the drawings that you guys are doing. This line, half of this third, this line is not your center of your lips. This line is not the center of your lips. This is the bottom of the bottom lip. Okay. The distance from the bottom of the bottom lip to the nose, here to here, the top lip is just taller than center. So if I'm going to block that in, here's center here, a little bit taller. This is the top of my top lip. This is the bottom of my bottom lip. My center line, I'm just going to think of it as a line right now, barely pressing down on the paper. If her bottom lip is a little thicker than the top lip, just above center again, straight across. As far as where these end, and I'm going to kind of barrel through this a little bit because we're running out of time. Are we? Oh, we got 15 minutes. All right, plenty of time. When I'm X and Y axising things, I got my X axis as far as the edge of my lips. If I go Y axis straight up, she's relaxed. It lines up with my iris. Lines up with my iris. If she's smirking at all, just rely on maybe this one goes out a little bit further. For the shape of our center line, let's not overthink it right now. If we have a bisecting point here, Maybe I will arch down a little bit. Arch down a little bit. It's basically a straight line that goes from there across. Don't press down hard until you are confident in your line. A little bit taller. You may if you arch it off too much. All right. When you think of your the lips, when I was taught to have this oval here. You're basically trisecting again your top lip. That's going to arch into a an oval down here. So if we have, this is our center line, we need to figure out where the peaks of this lip are. Just looking at our reference again, if I go y-axis straight up here, it's lining up with my nostril here. Y-axis straight up here, a little bit to the left, or to the right rather. Now I need to figure out the depth of this crevice here, that V on the top lip. It's not really pronounced, it's pretty subtle. Anytime that you have a hard line, soften it out. And then on my center line, this lip on this side, the top lip, arches in, so it's a little concave, and it goes all the way to this point. On this side, it ends a little early. So if I have the edge here, I'll come in a little bit, and instead of a concave line, it's basically a straight line. So it's not a completely mirrored image. That's something that's important for realism. Pay attention to this line being straight across, this one being a little bit concave, coming into the center line. Sometimes they go out. Sometimes they're convex. Your center line, or your bottom lip rather, my suggestion is figure out your arch. And only draw the bottom. The more lines you add, like I said before, the more masculine this person tends to look. Right. Now with her chin, you guys have to think of the chins as eggs. They have to be three-dimensional objects. You're gonna see shadow underneath the chin. That's still the bottom of the chin, but the closest part of the chin to you is somewhere around here, okay? You always have to add the shadow for that to look like a three-dimensional egg. When I'm thinking of the size of the egg, put it in a box. Everything is a box. Everything's in a box. If I use my reference that I beat up a lot, and I say I can kind of start to see the edge of that curve here, the edge of the curve here. I go straight up, that's just inside the lips, okay? Inside of the columns of the lips. So if I have that there, y-axis down, y-axis down, I start to think of the top line of that oval here, here. No, I don't want to draw the entire oval. I just want to kind of ghost this and then touch down, around. That's the width of her chin, okay? It is not too V-shaped. It's not too narrow. It is not sculpted and chiseled. but it's not a V or a U. It is a very, very wide, almost straight line. All right, let's get her head blocked in. We're almost done. The edge of the head in this far right column, break it down from face to ear. I've got equal distance on either side, from corner of my eye, edge of the face, to the far side of the ear, corner of the eye, edge of the face, is half that distance between corner of the eye and the outside of the ear, the outside of this far fifth column. My edge of my face is going to almost go straight down here. This is important too. Just be very, very linear with your references. If I go straight down, it makes her really, really boxy. She's got a bit of an angle. Okay, the angle of that point from, if I go straight across on my eyes, that is basically going down to 6:30 on a clock. If this point is the center of my clock, to this change in direction basically here is 6:30. So instead of drawing a straight line down, angle it a little bit. Give yourself some options. Don't press down hard. Ballpark. Okay. And you usually start to see a little change in directions right at your the horizon line of your mouth. So if your center line of your mouth kept going out, this one's just below it. It'll start changing direction somewhere around here. Get the angle there. Keep it linear. Real quick, guys, keep it linear. You're going to have a really hard edge. And then when you round that off, you go inside of that edge, she's going to be thinner. If you go a little bit outside of that edge, she gets a little thicker. Okay. Try and stay accurate to your reference. This becomes the edge of her head over there. Relax, gentlemen. What did you think? You were going to come into this and there's going to be some magic words, and relax. Facial recognition is also important. You guys did all this with still lives. Same exact thing with portraiture. The opposite side, we're not going to really worry about too much because we have hair over the face. We know that her hair goes up on the brow here, almost as a vertical line, a little bit bottom left, top right. Shape of that shadow comes in. You have a little bit of a wedge. Now this line, we're going to make it linear again. This line keeps going along this Z-axis. Got a few minutes, guys. Let's go. Let's finish this edge of the head and then you're done. So I've got 3 planes. 1, 2, 3. I've got this axis here, and we'll round it off in a minute. And then a y-axis here going up into the far left of her iris, somewhere around there. And then this peak starts, this change in direction starts just shy of the bottom line of her nose. So if I have that really wide S, now I can arch that a little bit more, soften that edge, and this will come up to her hairline. I need to arch that a little bit more. That's fine. This angle and this angle are mirrored angles. We're going to have a lot of shadow over here to thin it out a lot. I might want to go a little bit more vertical here. Right. The edge of her neck. I go y-axis up from her neck in my reference. It's going to line up just outside of her eye. The y-axis. We'll do the ear tomorrow. Just to block it in, your ear. It goes straight across from the bottom of your nose to the top of your brow, or to your brow line. Your ears are going to fit into here. It's another thing with the Loomis method. There's no way that our ears are that big. Yeah, they are. I will get this video posted for you. You guys keep your references, keep your charcoal.